But we begin today with that weather. Widespread cleanup is going on across the region today after that wild weather that hit yesterday. CTV's Ryan McDonald is in Cape Breton, the hardest hit part of our region, and he joins us now by phone. How are things looking there, Ryan?
Hi there, Priya. I'm in Glace Bay right now, one of the harder hit communities, although Eskasoni and Sydney pretty bad too. I'm standing in front of the Cameron Bowl ball field right now where bleachers have been washed away, shattered. One set of bleachers carried 1,000 feet across the street through some basically rapids. Into an adjacent park. That's how bad the damage was there. The city is really in picking up the pieces mode this morning, Priya, beginning to assess the damage. They have applied for disaster assistance funding. The mayor saying the damage is easily in the millions and millions of dollars, but that it's too early to know an exact figure there. Things like washed out bridges, culverts, guardrails, streets blocked off contributing to that damage. And then, of course, there's the countless stories of individual impact on people. Thousands of people in the Sydney area without power at this hour, people stuck in their homes, stranded on streets, fire services responding to nearly 300 flooded basement calls last night and having to rescue 14 people out of their homes. So really, the city is just starting to assess the damage and pick up the pieces. They've called in provincial help through EMO and the Transport Minister's office. The Premier is also on board with the city, too. The main thing they're saying right now is that so far no serious casualties reported. People are staying safe. They're asking people to stay off the roads as much as possible, to let the cleanup continue. And, of course, Priya will have more on this, including some great pictures tonight on our 5 and 6 shows. Back to you.
Thank you, Ryan. That was CTV's Ryan McDonald for us in Glace Bay. And as Ryan mentioned, that weather has left thousands of people off the grid. Over the past 24 hours or so, 144,000 Nova Scotia Power customers have been off the grid at one time or another. There are still more than 50,000 people without power. More than half of those are in the Sydney area. All schools in the Cape Breton Victoria Regional School Board and the Strait Regional School Board are closed today, and there are 3 comfort centres open for anyone affected by the weather. One at the Grand Lake Road Volunteer Fire Department, another at Reserve Mines Fire Hall, and the third at the North Sydney Firemen's Club. In Newfoundland and Labrador, states of emergency have been declared in Lewisport, St. Albans, and Little Burnt Bay. 1,200 residents of St. Albans are unable to leave the town due to damage to some roads and the Swanger Cove Bridge. And travel across the Confederation Bridge was restricted for several hours yesterday. It is now back to normal. There were also about 8,500 people without power on PEI this morning. That number now down to 1,300. Strong winds also ripped siding and shingles from homes. In this case, it tore construction materials from the top of Fenwick Tower. That's the tallest building in Halifax. That scattered debris across the south end of Halifax, forcing police and fire crews to close several streets. Some people had to wait it out in a parked Metro Transit bus. As of 3:30 this morning, residents were allowed back in the building, and streets in the area have been reopened. Now, the weather today, a completely different story from the images we've been showing you. That should help with the cleanup. And for more on that, CTV's Elise Hand joins us from the CTV Weather Center. Lots of sunshine out there for us today, Elise.
There is. And as you mentioned, Priya, yeah, good day to get outdoors and sort of survey what's happened. A lot of damage in Cape Breton. This is where we were hardest hit by this weather event. A lot of rain here. And then further west and through mainland Nova Scotia, this was a wind event for most of western Nova Scotia, of course, coupled with rain. But the real story here were the winds and in through areas of PEI. That's where I was this weekend. I can tell you I haven't felt winds like that in a long time. Eastern PEI winds gusted to about 100 clicks throughout the day. On Monday, this wind really picked up on late Sunday night. So here's a look at the past 36 hours. And what happened here is tropical moisture associated with Hurricane Matthew. That combined with a cold front that pushed through from Ontario. And this system was expected to move southward, as we showed you last week. It actually tracked northeast, this low pressure system, and it stalled. As you can see, a lot of green there on the storm tracker. This is the last 36 hours. It's moving out, though, Priya. As you can see, the rain now beginning to taper off for all of us. Newfoundland still holding on to precipitation. precipitation, a lot of flooding on the Rock as well. But as for numbers, we'll talk some totals coming up in the full forecast. Cape Breton shattered records yesterday. It was back in 1981 in August, 129 millimeters of rain fell that day, close to 230 millimeters for some areas of Sydney over the past, yesterday anyway. So we'll look at some totals coming up in the full forecast.
All right, thanks so much for that, Elise.
You're welcome.
And we will also have extensive team coverage of the cleanup tonight on CTV News at 6 and throughout the day on our website. That's at atlantic.ctvnews.ca. You can also follow us on Twitter at CTV Atlantic.